welcome back to Beauty Marks Podcast. My name is Elizabeth Savillon, and thank you for joining me on another episode. Here, I always talk about healing, community, and how to embrace our story. And I am here at High Hill Labs in this beautiful studio space with some great coffee with thank you, Chris, and some beautiful flowers. And this studio space is great if you want to do a podcast or you want to have your own event or have any production needs. They are here for you in downtown Orlando. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this podcast and leave a review. All of that helps us to grow, and I just love hearing your guys' feedback. And I wanted to read another review that someone left last month, and it said, "This podcast has been such a great tool when it comes to finding advice about relationships, friendships, and understanding more about mental health. Love sharing the insightful advice shared through numerous episodes with many of my friends." Thank you so much, Daniela, for sharing that. And I appreciate you guys listening, and anything that you guys would love to hear more about, make sure to share it with me. You can DM me, or you can also go on beautymarkspodcast.com, which just got a revamp, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I will be also offering different services coming up, which I am excited about. If you want to build your own community, if you want to have me as a speaker at one of your events, that's something that I really want to do kind of like towards now wrapping up the year, and just do more like podcasting guest episodes. So if you're interested, you can go on beautymarkspodcast.com, and you can also leave a request or a question on our website for us to answer live on air. On today's episode, I wanted to talk about something I get a lot of questions about, which is about going out and making friends in adulthood, like putting yourself out there and to go to these networking events, to go alone to certain events. Like, how do you do it? Do you still get anxious? Do you talk to a lot of people? Do you go to the bathroom and take a few breathers? Yes. I feel like first, what you wear is super important. Like today, I actually never wear yellow, but yellow is actually a very inviting color. So if you're actually trying to meet people, they say that wearing like orange or yellow or like bright colors is more opening and more welcoming to people. So they'll be like, oh. Even though for me, I'm going to be honest, when I go to networking events, I wear a lot of black. So I definitely should take that advice because I feel like it's true. It's like the colors that are like welcoming, they do make you feel like happy, and they make you feel like more like, like you're able to approach someone more. And a few tips when it comes to this. I feel like as you get older, it is hard to make friends, to connect with people, but going to all these different events helps. Some examples of some events that you can go to is networking events in your category or business. You can go to different groups of, let's say, an interest. So pickleball is really huge right now. Golf. You can go to a salsa class. You can go to a Pilates or yoga, or even run clubs is huge right now too. So finding one in your community. And over the past few months, I've actually joined a few groups on Facebook, which are like Orlando girls, or like whatever's in your community, like Orlando, how to make friends in Orlando, or like whatever your city is. And there's usually a lot of, and let's say like you're a mom, you can do like Orlando or whatever your city is, like mom's club or local run club. And like you'll be able to join those groups, and there's people that pitch like, hey, I want to go here, or hey, like my name is this, I'm trying to make friends. And I've seen a lot of people pop off with that. I haven't tried it myself, so I can't say, but I have heard people that have met on like Bumble BFF and other ways of those kind of like online ways to meet. I feel like it would be a little something like precaution, but at the same time, like there are people that I meet there. And if you are an Orlando girly, you can come to our She Cultivates events, which is all about making friendships. And that is a great way to meet people in person that actually want to make the friends and want to connect and want to get out there, and in all different ages. Our last event, we had a lot of people that were new to the city. They found us on TikTok. And so I feel like there's people that are looking for that. They just don't know where the space is. So definitely, you are always welcome at She Cultivates. I feel like a few ways also is to volunteer. Especially if you have like an interest or you're like someone that like loves to be a part of something, I feel like volunteering is great, or even a church group. So there's small groups that are church based. And so if you are someone of faith that you would like to join that, like I feel like that's a great place. But all these places, okay, now that you have the people, right? And you're like, okay, I am out here. It's like, how do you approach people? Like, how do you like get out there and like start actually being approachable, or maybe starting the small talk? And I think that the first thing is being aware that other people that are at those events, most of the time, they want to meet other people. They're trying to connect with other people. So coming in with that mindset that it's like other people here are also kind of nervous. Maybe they're looking for friends too. Maybe they're potential friends that I can make. I feel like that mindset helps you to see the possibilities of the connections you can make versus going in there and being like, oh my God, I'm going to be like a loner, or like, I'm not going to meet anybody here. Everyone's going to be staring at me. I think that's a different mindset. So prepping, going over there, whatever you need to do, if that's like hype music, if that's some like affirmations that you tell yourself, like I can make at least one friend today, or I can connect with someone today. Um, Seeing relationships also that you make, your connections, not as transactional, seeing it as like a relationship of a connection that you're trying to build a friendship. I feel like that is so much different than going in somewhere and being like, all right, I'm going to give my business cards to a whole bunch of people and I'm going to make them follow me on my business Instagram, or I'm going to make them follow me. It's like, how can you add value to other people? And I think remembering that when you go into a place, how you show up, so like smiling, the feeling confident in what you're wearing, going in, not looking at your phone. I know sometimes when we get nervous, that's what we do, and I've done it. And when I'm like awkwardly like, like someone help me, or even going to the bathroom. I've had events in this past few months that I've gone to that I have felt awkward, or like my social anxiety is coming up. And so I have gone to the bathroom to kind of regroup and like, all right, we're gonna be okay, deep breaths. And then we come back out with like a better, energy and mindset. I think that's very important. And also looking for people that you can like smile to like approach, or be like, hey, like, how what made you come to this event? Or hi, my name is this, like I this is my first time at this event. And like starting to ask questions about them. I think that sometimes when we get nervous we talk a lot, but it's also very important to know that when you're trying to make friends, you want to share interest in the other person. You want to ask questions. You want to engage and be intentional of like being aware of them. Who doesn't love a compliment? So like I feel like that's always a great way to start the conversation, of being like, hey, I love your top, or like, oh my God, your hair's so pretty, or I love your outfit. Like I feel like starting off with like a positive with people is always great. So it doesn't mean that you're going to guarantee like a friend, but I'm just saying that like if you're in a room and you don't know anybody there, I feel like going in with a positive attitude and like trying to add value to the room, meaning like you're trying to make other people feel better too. A great way to do that is approaching people with a compliment. And then from there, you can be like, oh, like, is this your first time here? Or like, oh, how did you hear about the event? Or, oh, are you local to the area? So that kind of can spark some conversation. I feel like sometimes, and I've done it too, that I might not look approachable because I have like maybe an RBF face, or like I'm just so focused in like looking around the room that I don't look approachable. And so something that I have taught myself is like look around, like make eye contact with people. It's like that makes you seem, or like smile when they look at you. That makes you seem a little bit more approachable, like you're willing to have a conversation. Because if you're closed off and you're like here, like no one's going to be like, she wants me to talk to her, or like she looks approachable to approach her to make a friend, or to make small talk. I know a lot of us don't like small talk, and I get it, but I think that warming up yourself to that in the beginning, that's a great way to do it. And I feel like 9 out of 10 that always works, like being able to like give a compliment, ask questions to others, and be like more uplifting and positive in the interactions that people have, because the positive interactions that people have with you are such a key, like kind of like your first impression is so important to people. And it's not about faking it or trying to over like be charismatic or everything, or like maybe again, like when we get nervous, myself too, I can start thinking that like I should talk more. It's like talk, listen, make eye contact with them, engage, ask follow-up questions, and then maybe like, oh, it was so nice talking to you. Because that's something else too. How do you end conversations and like go somewhere else? And I think for me, this is what has worked, is that especially when you're in a place where you're like trying to meet different people and there's multiple people that you want to meet and connect with, again, like more of a networking or friendship. Um, talking to people, talking to them for a few minutes, and if you feel it's kind of like wrapping up, or you're kind of like, okay, like I should go somewhere else because I've been here a while, be like, it was so nice meeting you. Like, can I get your phone number, your Instagram? Would love to like connect more. And like I'm gonna go walk around. I'll see you in a few. Or like, oh, I'm gonna go get a drink. Like, I'll talk to you later. Or it was such a nice pleasure to meet you. I'm gonna I'll connect with you later. Like, it's kind of like you wrap it up in a way that's not rude. It's just more like, oh, I'm gonna go and check in with someone else, or I'm gonna go do this. It was really nice meeting you. I hope we can connect soon, or like we'll chat. Usually that's really good. I know that sometimes in events too, there are sometimes people that don't get the social cues. So that's another thing that you have to navigate in those kind of events. But again, knowing that like it's okay to feel the nervousness that comes with like meeting new people and connecting with people and having those conversations. And most of the time, I would say that people are willing to talk and are willing to like connect and all of that. I think the places that I have felt, I guess, the most intimidated are more networking events or like business conferences, because a lot of them like I feel like sometimes like they have their groups or like their cliques of someone, and I'm like, do am I gonna go? Am I gonna go where? So I have gone to like where the food or drinks are, or wherever that area is, and how the people are waiting in line. That's where you can like someone in line, you can talk to them or make small talk. So there's multiple ways to do it. And I think that as you get older and as you go to different things for your career or maybe personal growth stuff, you will have to navigate those situations. But especially if you want to make friends, the main thing when you go to those events is, again, seeing that it's not transactional. It's more the value, and you're trying to get to know them. How can you support them? How can you connect with them outside of this? Like, hey, we should get coffee this week. And maybe even there, you're like, okay, what day do you want to schedule it? So it's like being intentional about that on the spot, because I think with networking events, it's a little different, that you get so many cards, or like people are just trying to tell you about their business and like leave. And that sometimes you have to follow up after the event. But I feel like during the event, that's usually a great way, especially if you're trying to like make a friend, saying like, hey, like let's connect this week. So those are different things. And like maybe some other things of like what kind of questions you can ask. I wrote down a few. So I'm going to also include them in the show notes of like some of the questions that I said, but there's some general questions you can ask, like what brings you here today? Do you come here often? Have you been to this event before? What made you come to this event? What do you like doing on your free time? Have you seen any good movies or TV shows lately? What do you think of X, Y, and Z that's happening? So like whatever the event is there a place you recommend visiting if maybe you're new to the city, that you're like, hey, I'm like local, like what are your favorite spots to go to around here? And how did you find out about this event? Do you have any place that you've traveled to? A lot of people, I feel like, also maybe off the bat, they don't share like so much information. A lot of people go more towards like, what do you do? So I feel like you can steer that sometimes away from that, because that's where you can like stay in about like what field you're in, or more like if they tell you what they do, it's like, oh, what's your favorite part of your job? And some people can share that, and some people will be like, I hate my job, and that's maybe a follow-up question. Oh, okay, so like how long have you working in that, like, and so I feel like those are maybe some practical questions that you can ask at our events that we do for She Cultivates. We usually do like a friendship bingo card where it's like little guide questions or things or actions that you do. So like give someone a compliment, ask someone this question, or share something about yourself with someone. That way it like kind of guides you and leads you on like how you navigate those situations. But just know that most people are nervous going into those events or going into stuff like that. But you're number one, you're going there with a positive mindset. You're trying to meet different people, you're trying to connect, and remember keeping it short and sweet and knowing that like you can also follow up afterward. And maybe like you met so many people in the time, or maybe you met one person and that's like your goal for that time. Like, hey, I made one connection. And then let's say it's like you add them on Instagram. I feel like a great way to follow up or like continue that, so it's not just like you guys become followers of each other, it's when they're posting stuff, you engage with it. You engage with like still keeping up, or like if they post things on their feed, then you're like commenting on it. So it's like you're trying to like nurture that. So then be like, hey, like we'll love to grab coffee sometime. Or like, hey, like I know you said that you love this book club or this movie that's coming out. Like, do you want to go and see it? You know? So just know that even as adults, we do get nervous. Most people get nervous. And even though I host events myself, I get nervous going into events and like being able to like interact with people, and like also trying to know that like I'm not going to get around to everybody, because I feel like that's where it feels a little transactional when you're trying to like jump around the room. I feel like it's about being intentional. So even if you met with like 2 or 3 people, you know, that you connected with really good, I feel like that's great. And just know that again, like especially when you're going to events that are about like connection and friendship, or let's say a hobby, like you're going to go play pickleball at a local spot. Like I think that there's a lot of people there that are willing and want to make connections. And even if it's just about a hobby that brings you guys together, that's a great way for you to nurture that friendship or that relationship. To be like, hey, like, oh, it was nice meeting you. Like, when do you come to do this activity? Like, I'll be here next Wednesday, you know, if you want to come. And so that starts building that relationship. Salsa for me has been a way that a lot of people that follow me, or a lot of people that connect with me, they have wanted to do salsa. So I like to invite them to do that. So it's like, hey, like we'll love to connect. Okay, yeah. I go to classes Wednesdays or Fridays. So like come with me one of those days. And so then they join me on a class and we connect and like, you know, just build that relationship from there. And it is like something that it's like through an activity. It doesn't have to be like always sitting down across from each other, you know, but like you can do an activity, and I feel like that is very intentional. And I think those are tips that have helped me over the years to get out of like my own social anxiety and get out of feeling like, when going into those rooms, feeling so intimidated. I feel like the mindset is super important going in, and knowing what your intention is when you're there. I feel like so many people, again, are trying to make friends in this time. So definitely take advantage of that. And I hope that this has helped you. Just know that most of us are nervous going into those events, but there are people that you have yet to maybe make a new friend of. There are people that want to make genuine connections. There are people that want to find a friend, maybe like you. And so just know that they're out there, and I hope that you challenge yourself to go to that event, to do that thing, and you never know who you might meet. So if you've enjoyed this episode, or if you learned something, make sure to share it with a friend, share it on social media, tag me at Elizabeth Sabby, and I'll see you guys next week.